Hello everyone, welcome back to the studio for this week's episode of Tutorial Tuesday. Today we're here for episode number 60 of Tutorial Tuesday. I thought we'd paint a beautiful mountain scene, and in the foreground we're going to throw in some roses. Let's jump up to the canvas and see what we've got going on up here. I have my standard 18 by 24 inch canvas that has been prepped with a very thin and even coat of liquid white. It's ready to go. Be sure to check the description below for the paint list if you'd like to paint along with me. And if you do paint along with me, please send me an email. I would love to see your version of this painting, Kaylee at KayleeRakowski.com. I'd love to hear from you. Let's jump right up into the painting here. All right, to get started off today, I'm going to use my 2-inch brush and use some Phthalo Blue up into the sky. I think we'll have some nice little fluffy clouds in the sky today, so we can just kind of dance in the blue. Our light is going to be coming from the left-hand side, so our darker corner is going to be up here on the right. We can work some of that color in and just see what happens. Who knows? Maybe just a touch more up here. And I want to get some of this color down below as well. We're going to have some water too. All my favorite things: water, mountains, and flowers. Flowers can be a little bit tricky to paint. I still am kind of learning a little bit on that, but we're going to have some fun today. I'm so excited. I haven't been in the studio for a couple weeks actually. I kind of pre-recorded some of the other videos. Aside from the live video last week when I was at the mural. I'm still working on that, by the way, not quite done, but soon. You could check out my Instagram channel, and I've been posting some images of progress on the big 65-foot mural. That was quite a challenge. But anyway, let's get some blue. Always starting from the outside, pulling the brush in. If you start out here, you're going to get a really ugly line, and it's harder to get out. You can get it out, but just start on the outside. Pull it in really flat, because water is always flat. Now, I'm going to pick up just a touch of Phthalo Green and titanium white. I'm just going to mix that on the brush until it softens. You don't want a lot of Phthalo Green. And then we really don't want a lot of pigment, so just kind of wipe it out. I might even just wipe it out on a towel there. So there's just barely a tiny amount of paint on the brush for the sky up here. I just want to work in a touch of that while still leaving some of this liquid white and plain white canvas down here so that we can blend some of this up. But we just want to kind of disperse the colors a little. Now we'll go ahead and grab some more of that Phthalo Green, mix it with some Phthalo Blue, get a good bit, and then we're going to add a little bit of oomph to this water scene down here. I really want it to feel kind of like glacier water runoff. Yeah, just kind of that rich, mineral rich water that has those really beautiful colors. I thought that would just look so pretty. So let's give that in a little go. Maybe a touch more over here. And now that I have those darks on my brush, I'm just going to kind of work them in just a touch more evenly into the bristles, and I wanted to use just a touch of that up in this corner, kind of darken that just a touch. I'm going to pick up a new clean blending brush, different brush. It's clean and dry. I have two going. Highly recommend having more than one brush. If you're going to use the brush wash, which also I do recommend, it's just a little bit easier on the lungs, but you use less paint. Cleanup is a little bit slower, but anyway, it doesn't hurt your lungs and it's nice. But you can have two brushes going and then you will have even less paint in them, and you don't have to clean while you're painting. So it just makes the painting process a little more fun, not always having to clean while you're painting. But the cleanup process can maybe be a little bit different. Just softening out the light areas, kind of moving the liquid white out. I didn't want this to get too small, so I'm working real carefully in there. Maybe we can pull. That's nice. Yeah, all the way across. All right. I'm going to use a fan brush today to pop in a few clouds. Grab some titanium white, perhaps a touch of Alizarin Crimson, and a tiny bit of Phthalo Blue. Just kind of a little bit of a lavender color. Hopefully you can see that on the palette cam down there. And let's do something like that. We can even grab a touch of Phthalo Green to kind of gray it out. We'll just pop in a little bit of a base. Let's try just a touch more volume on this here. Kind of give these, a little bit more red. I kind of lost some of that. There we go. Give these a little bit of oomph down at the bottom there. And we'll just swirl them right out of the brush. Let's grab a little bit more color. Maybe we have a few up here. Maybe and I think we'll just maybe stop with that here and blend them out. We'll take the cleaner of the two 2-inch brushes. You can just wipe out a little bit of the excess paint from when we were blending all of our blues on the sky. No big deal. If you're not applying too much paint when you blend, your brush shouldn't be too messy. So do it in stages. Maybe you want this to be a little darker. You could always just pick up a little bit more paint and put a little bit more on, then blend it out. But if you're constantly over applying paint and blending it off, all of your brushes and tools are just going to be messy and you're just not going to be happy about it. So start small, start with a little bit of paint, see how far it goes and how dark it gets on your canvas, and adjust as needed. Sometimes the best thing that you can do is use less liquid white if you're having issues of blending and or you're always having a bunch of paint moving around and it's turning into this big brown mess. Use less paint and see if that works for you. Because you can always come in. Now that I've put all these clouds in, we're going to highlight them. Maybe I do want this up top corner a little darker. What if we come in with some Phthalo Blue, good bit of Phthalo Blue, and that's all. This is nice and dark color, nice and pure. Phthalo Blue is very strong. We could just work this up into this corner maybe. And then we can get rid of the rest of the paint. Don't waste it. Use it down below. And now we've gotten rid of most of the excessive amount of paint on that loading brush. You have your blending brush still that you were using on the clouds. And you can just come right up in here and soften that out to whatever degree that you want. Bring them together, whatever. Maybe we want this just blue sky up here, soft. Just make it happen. You can make it almost as if it never happened. Now we need to clean out the fan brush. We've got blue all over it. You don't want that. Pick up some clean titanium white and bright red. Ooh, that was way more than we really needed, but let's just go with that. Okay, now we're gonna start, our light source is over here, so let's start building a few areas, maybe some far away clouds that are just way down below here, and then they kind of are building up. I'm just wiggling the brush, always directing the push of the stroke towards the light source. And as soon as you start picking up too much dirt, or it's not as light as it was, you just reload with your thick titanium white and bright red, and it should kind of just, it outweighs the dark that you were picking up on the brush. So you can see on the palette cam, it's a little bit dirty, even it darkens the titanium white that we have, but as soon as you blend it, it kind of overpowers. So just play around with that. Let's throw in, oh, these are going to be some fun little fluffers out here, huh? Maybe touch more red now. We're kind of running low. That's okay. Let's do a little more red, a little more white. Just keep working with those colors. We're going to have some big mountains here, so we don't know really how much of this is going to show. But we already put in these little bases for it. So we'll see what we can get in there. Let's try. And maybe now, I need to get a good, clean blending brush. So like usual, just Find your cleanest brush and wipe it out. If you start getting blue everywhere, clean it more. Just keep it easy. This is a nice thick paint now, so the blue that's on the brush probably, as long as you get most of it out, won't really affect the canvas because of the way that the paints stick to each other. Right now we're just kind of smooshing around this thick titanium white and bright red, which are two really pretty thick paints. We didn't add any liquid white. There's nothing else to it. So because of the way that we work with the paints, it stays pretty clean if you do it right. Just kind of working in this nice light area here. I'm going to work here for a second. Soften it out. Maybe even pick up some of this liquid white that's primed on the canvas here, and you can move it up into the base of our clouds here and really just bring it all together there, just like that. How cool. Nice and soft. This particular part of the painting is, I think in my eyes, it's probably one of the hardest to film because the lighting gets kind of weird on the blues. And anyway, it looks really bright right now, but once we get the mountain in, it's going to be pretty cool. So stick with me here. And also I'm looking forward to painting these roses. It's been actually quite a long time since I've painted a rose. So hopefully I can remember all of the things that I've learned about them and make it work. We'll make something work. There's all kinds of different roses, so I was gonna try some real fancy ones, and if that doesn't work out, we'll just do some real simple. They're like a 5-petal mountain rose, so we'll see. We'll see. But it will be the simplest version that I can think of on how to paint it, because that's just how I roll. I don't want to overcomplicate anything if I don't have to. It's just not worth it. Not like finding an easy way out, but finding, I don't know, logical, but not wasting my time. Because I got other things I like to do. I love painting, but I don't want to spend 5 days on it. It's so fun to be able to get here on this canvas and get my idea out onto the canvas quicker than working on this, 2 or 3 week long project, because sometimes you just start to lose the motivation and it's harder to get back into it. But this type of thing, man, I love it. All of it. It's so fun. The challenge of getting it done so I can go eat food or something, I'm like, it just excites me every time. So I'm really excited that you all are here and enjoying it with me. That makes it even better. So thank you. I'd love to hear what some of your favorite moments has been. Maybe if you've been watching a few Tutorial Tuesdays. I've almost been doing this for over a year straight, every single Tuesday. I think that's kind of crazy. I would love to hear what, if you have any favorite moments or favorite videos from past. Put them in the comments below or in the live chat if we're all hanging out right now. Just would like to hear what's your favorite painting, which one speaks to you most right now or in the past. Something that I haven't done in a while or an old, new, I don't know. I'd like to hear from you. Let me know in the comments what you think. What your most recent or something that just speaks to you. Because I always have my favorites, but they're definitely not the same ones that you all choose. And I think that's really, really cool. A lot of the times, some of my least liked paintings are ones that you will say is something that you like the most. So I find that part really, really cool, and I enjoy it. And thank you all for being a part of this fun adventure of learning how to paint and sharing it with you all, and growing and evolving as an artist. having my own business, teaching classes. I mean, all of it. I love it all. I'm so grateful. And it all started here on YouTube. This was the biggest part. This was what helped me the most, was learning from YouTube, and now I share on YouTube. So I'm just using my best effort to try and share with you. I'm just adding a few more little pops on these clouds. I just want to make them fun. I'm going to grab just a touch of Indian yellow even, maybe. Let's see. I don't know. Maybe I'll regret that. Just a pop. Maybe, oh, right in here. We'll just do in a safe zone, kind of in the middle. A little pop of gold. Why not? That looks nice. We'll soften that out and be done with this cloud area. Move on to the mountain. I like that. Kind of subtle, but it's nice. There we go. Okay, now let's move on to the mountain. It's going to be kind of like a bigger range, maybe with some snow still over here and some other stuff. Let's get some paint going. Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green, Alizarin Crimson. Let's grab a touch of Van Dyke Brown too. And I want to mix up a little bit more. Whoop! Paint everywhere, all over the house. It's already on all my clothes. I don't need it on all the floors too. Okay, now let's grab some titanium white, and then we're just going to marble in those colors. We're going to start with something a little bit more distant. I think right out here. I have a little sketch over here that I'm looking at that I kind of am using a little bit as inspiration. Let's do just a touch more, maybe something like that. And we're going to have a little bit over here as well. Get a nice semi-clean blending brush. Soften out the base of that. Wonderful. Now, we'll build a little bit of a highlight color here with some titanium white. Let's grab some dark sienna and a touch of our mountain mixture. We want a touch of bright red with that as well. We'll come back with a little bit of another color here too, but we'll start off with this. Now, grab some titanium white, touch of, oh, let me put this where you can see it. Touch of bright red and Indian yellow. Now we've got a little bit of a brighter color here. All right. mix up a nice shadow color with our mountain mixture and some titanium white. That's it. Right out here, we're going to just pull this down. Just like that. Now we can do the same thing. We're going to start, let's actually add just a touch more dark here for this kind of next range. It's going to come right on top, more like, you know, in front. Something like this. 2-inch brush, soften that. And then right in this back area, we're going to add a little bit of kind of a glacier area. Titanium white, phthalo blue. You can even add a touch of phthalo green to that. Such a nice crisp white color. And we're going to just start with our glacier all the way up here. It's going to move down this gully and out, right out this area here. Then we will come back and just clean up some of those dark lines that we put in. But sometimes it helps to have them there so that you know where you want to lay the next, or that glacier bit there. Kind of helps to lay it out. So now we'll just soften this out for just a second here so we don't forget to do that. And we're going to build the rest of our mountain across before we do this far right side. Kind of just get some paint in here. We don't want this paint to be very thick, so I'm scraping this, but I'm also pushing it very much into the canvas. So you want it to fill those pores and really get that dark into the canvas, really work it in there. And then you can scrape off the excess once you've pushed it into those cracks. Nice. Now we'll go over here and just finish out this little area. We're only going to have a tiny bit of this that's kind of popping out in the light, and a lot of it's going to be covered. So we'll just pop on some highlights and shadows. Something like this. And we will also have a bit of a glacier out here. Nice thick titanium white. It's going to come right down that way. Oh, that's nice. Okay, now let's do a little more work here. This isn't any particular mountain, but I still kind of sketched out an idea that I like, and that's what I'm going with. I'm just trying to get some of these shapes. You know, if you lay out a nice composition, you want to kind of line it up right. But I would love to hear if this reminds you of a place, because like I said, I just don't think this is I don't know exactly where this is, but it's something that kind of came up in my head. So anyway, I had looked at a few mountain rose pictures, so it could have been some weird combination of a few places, like, I don't know. And we've got this kind of coming down right in front. Look at that. Push all that dark into the canvas. We want to fill this whole spot over here. All right, now we're going to blend out the bottom with your 2-inch brush. All right, yeah, I like that. All right, we're gonna mix up a little bit more of our colors here. A little bit of a shadow color. Let's add a touch of Van Dyke Brown to it, and a touch of this mixture over here to our mid-tone highlight. Kind of our first highlight, just our mountain mixture, some reds and dark sienna. Make sure you leave it marbled if you can, just don't overmix it. Titanium white, let's get some more of that. And let's mix up a little bit of a different shadow color, kind of a nice brown. We'll get some Van Dyke Brown. Oh, it looks like I have Midnight Black. That's not Van Dyke Brown. I'm using the wrong color. Oh well, I've already used it. Where did I use it? Did I use it? On the mountain mixture. So, correction. Hopefully I fix that. Midnight Black over here on my palette, not... Huh. Anyway. Well, now we have that color here. It's kind of a gray mixture, but I like it though. Anyway, let's get that going. Marble a little bit more into that. And I think we'll start over here with some shadows. Let's pick up a bit of that shadow color and start furthest away with some shadows. We have kind of a bunch of ridges here. So I'm gonna go nice and slow with each one. And you just pull a little bit of it down into even a darker reflection, kind of the deepest part of that rock. Maybe this one's a little bit bigger here. Something like this. And then we get it to kind of a little bit bigger here. Nice. Now, keep on moving forward. Then we'll have this kind of come up to this guy here. And this one. And we've got this big one coming in there. Now, a little bit more here, and then we're going to be getting into a lot of the highlight areas. But I still want to just build this mountain out here, nice and slow, and get all of these nice areas over here. Okay, now I'm going to grab a tiny bit more of this shadow color and keep working it in to where we are going to have some shadows over here, and then we're going to put our highlights on top, kind of next, so that we can set it up a little bit and it'll be a little bit easier. Sometimes we do the highlights first, sometimes we do the shadows first. I think most of the time I do the highlights first, but today I wanted to do it this way. Let's do just a touch over here, and then we're going to come in with our glacier. I ran out of some of that, but we'll just mix some titanium white into that color we had going, and grab a tiny bit of phthalo blue, and then we'll just drop this right over the top, and it's going to kind of just hang out right over here. Add just a tiny bit of that nice bright, bring it together there. And now let's darken this a little bit. Ah, so cool. I love it. It's looking really fun. Okay, let's work just a tiny bit of some of this snow up a little bit higher on our highlight or our shadows over here, just to kind of work some of that in. And then we're going to take a tiny bit of this brighter shadow color, and we can just kind of sparkle on a little bit, like these rocks are a little bit shiny. Because we have all this water over here, they're going to be a little reflective. I imagine still a little bit wet and maybe melting out a tiny bit. So we just put on a little bit tiny bit of sparkle on a few of them. Let's try that. Now, highlight colors. We're going to start with the mid-ground one, the kind of semi-darker one. It's got a little bit more of our browns, reds. Wow, that's a lot of red. Let's mix that a little bit. That's more than I really wanted, but it's okay. We're going to leave it because that's the way it happened. And that's the way that that rock wants to show up today, so. Oh, wow, it's so red. Fire, it's on fire. I gotta get rid of some of that. I know I tell you not just leave it, go with it, but that was so bright. Okay. That's better, more of what I wanted. When we cut off this roll of paint, we have nice thick paint and some pretty thick paint on the canvas too, so they should stick together. My knife isn't actually really touching the canvas, it's just the paint that's touching the canvas. I think that's really important to note, and it's pretty challenging to show you on video, but if you did try that and you could even just play around, like load some paint up on the canvas and move to the side of it and just touch the paint to the canvas, and you can pull the canvas and move. You can move the canvas. Watch. Let me grab a spot where I don't mess it up. And this is just the paint. And I'm wiggling the canvas, but the knife isn't touching. It's just paint. Well, we'll fix that. And I just smooth it out. Now I got a little bit, there's not as much paint on the canvas, so you can hear it kind of scrape on the canvas a little bit. But up here, when we're laying this is all just paint that's touching. As soon as you start rubbing on the canvas, reload, get more paint, and put more paint on it. And if you're running out of paint too fast, you're probably still pressing too hard, and you're losing all of your paint right in the beginning. So you really have to pay attention to the texture of the paint that you are using. Super, 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 super important. Oh man, I'm picking up all kinds of bristles. I have some new brushes going, my new fan brush going today. I like using new tools, it's fun, but they leave a lot of bristles everywhere, and that's kind of a nuisance, but you know, the first couple goes and then it's better and it's okay. This little section might be a little challenging for us to get this paint in there since we already put the stuff on above. Maybe don't do that, but that's okay. We're actually putting more snow. Oh, it's just so cold up here, so there's just still snow in these mountains. They're tall, they're big and cold. And all of the animals have thick fur. Oh, it's so thick to stay warm up here. I bet in the summer it's not as thick. They probably get hot in the summer even if it's not even that hot. Anyway. Okie dokie. Let's do some more. Snow. Snow, snow. Let's do maybe some here. Coming down a little bit. It's just so cold on this side and it doesn't get a lot of sun, I think. That's what I've decided. This is the cold side. The north facing maybe. Okay, we're probably gonna have some trees over here, so we'll leave that. Now let's pop in a few more highlights onto these beautiful rocks. The sun has just started popping on them, and we want them to really have some shine in a few areas. So we take this highlight color, the second one, that real bright one that we mixed up already. Isn't it fun when you mix all your colors and you don't have to mix it when you get to that part? That's kind of fun. Maybe some of this up on the top of that. And probably right over here. And then I think I see just a tiny bit maybe on these here. They're just I just want to connect a few of these. You can just take your knife and pull a tiny bit of the highlight down into the shadow side and just kind of allow those to connect a little. Get that shape of the mountain really working and blending together. Oh, that's nice. Let's get some more titanium white. All right, let's do just a touch. We're gonna grab some titanium white and we're gonna use bright phthalo blue. Again, same mixture that we've been using here and there, and we're gonna pop in a tiny bit over here of our snow that's just hanging out in a couple little nooks and crannies. Just a little bit here, maybe. And we can just bring some of this together. Maybe something like this, and now we'll pick up our blending brush. Just gently convince the bottom of this mountain to just soften away. Kind of just disappear a little bit of the base. Now comes some fun parts. I think I'm making a mess. That's what I think. I also think I need to get some more paint. I ran out of phthalo blue. I was being a little sparing with that for no reason absolutely whatsoever. because I have so much of this. But it's always better to put more paint out than have a bunch that you're throwing away, or it's just gonna sit there and get crusty. So I always start with less and work up from there. Do that or don't, it's totally up to you, but that's my recommendation. Okay, I'm gonna pick up some paint here. We'll mix up Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green, that's a nice green color. And we'll pick up some Alizarin Crimson, much more Phthalo Blue than the Alizarin Crimson. And the Phthalo Green is just gonna kind of help us make this nice and dark. And for harmony, we'll grab just a tiny bit of that Midnight Black that I thought was Van Dyke Brown and is not, in fact, that color. Apparently I didn't read the tube. I just looked at it in my dark studio and put it out onto my palette. But at least I figured it out before it was like drying or I was completely done, because that would be even more embarrassing if I just never realized it. Anyway, I'm glad I did. Oh, before we do this, I want to do just a touch of some green. Let's do, this is my dirty brush from actually putting in our sky colors. So I'm going to pick up just a touch of our dark and some Indian yellow. Ooh, such a good green here. This is kind of a dark green first. Let's start, well, we'll probably have a hill here. So we'll just start here and do a touch of this mound like that. And then we will have some over here. This is just the dark, not as much of the Indian yellow on this side over here. I just mostly got this dark mixture that we just made with the Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green, and Alizarin Crimson, and a touch of Midnight Black. And the Midnight Black is going to be fun when we mix the Midnight Black with Indian Yellow. It's such a cool green. I really like that. So that's going to be good. We're just going to kind of build this mound. It kind of comes around this way. You know, this is the whole back side over here. Nice and dark. That's what we want. And we'll have some more mounds over here. It's going to just kind of disappear. This is my blending brush. This one is more clean. I'm softening out the base and just kind of allowing this to soften even more. When we use the 2-inch brush like this, it kind of turns this grass into velvet, and it's so wonderful. Now let's just add in a few of these glacier lines again. That kind of, they'll sneak into this tree line here, kind of, and then they kind of disappear under the trees. You can use the fan brush with some dark, and we'll just maybe kind of accentuate this round here. Maybe just a touch more. Take our blending brush and just soften that all back. And then we're going to highlight it. Let's pick up just the 2-inch brush again, go into the Indian yellow, good bit of that, titanium white, grab just a tiny bit of liquid white. Now, let's do fan brush, liquid white, clean fan brush, and Indian yellow. Just to get a little bit of that, and then we can go into that green mixture that we already had. And maybe we will highlight a few areas here and just kind of accentuate a couple. And then we'll take the blending brush and turn that into velvet. You just soften barely by tapping with these big old bristles. Now we do want to have a good bit here, kind of on the top. Then we can just kind of soften these back around. So soft. Very nice. I'm going to leave it just like that. We'll just soften up and bring this back a little bit here. Didn't quite need that to go quite so far there, but that's okay. It'll all work out. We'll kind of bring these rocks that we have, we can just bring back a touch right over the top with your titanium white and bright red. You can bring a few right back down into that grassy area there. And it really can change what you have so quickly into something that is what you planned, right? It just didn't look like it the whole time. You're like, what are you doing? But there we go. We just bring it right back out. These rocks kind of just go into this grass over here. Now with our nice dark color, we're going to work in some trees over here. Nice dark color here, loaded up into the bristles. I know. What if we pick up some of our brown and our dark Alizarin Crimson, and we've got some other rock right here, something rocky. We can highlight that with just some titanium white and some of our red and Van Dyke brown. Little mountain mixture into it. We've got a nice grayed out rock color. A little bit of shadow color. Maybe we'll soften that out at the base. We'll do these two while we've got the brush going. Now a little bit more dark. Let's finish this here. And we're gonna bring this right in front. Now let's take this blue, Phthalo Green. Let's add some Sap Green to that. Soften all this out. Just gonna lift up. We can add in a little bit of tree looks there. Maybe we'll do just a couple. We'll add just a tiny bit more dark to the brush. Maybe we'll have just a couple here. Pine trees right here at our water's edge. And they're smaller and smaller. That's further and further away. Maybe a couple more over here. Some reflections. Maybe we can put in some of these other pine-like trees. More of like a fir. Just kind of mix it up in there. Now, over on this other side, we're gonna do something kind of similar. It's just gonna be a nice dark grassy mound. It's in the shadows, so we can't quite make it out very well, but it's over here. Just get the dark on the canvas and we'll sort the rest out. Nice and dark over here though. Now, we'll leave that. Maybe we can pull down just a little bit of reflections. Then we will put in some Van Dyke Brown and Dark Sienna, a shoreline. Then with the fan brush that we were using just a minute ago with all the dark dirty, we can just pull down a little bit of our rocks. And we'll mix up a little bit of a highlight color. We've got a little bit going here. Bright red, dark sienna, mountain mixture, some titanium white. Touch more bright red. Ooh, that's fun. We'll use that. Now I'm going to pick up my big blending brush. I'm going to pull down my reflections again. And this time I'm going to flatten them out. Just pull down this side over here a little bit too. Now let's use our fan brush that we had going with some highlight colors. We'll just mix into that, make it just a touch darker here. A little bit of midnight black. That's a nice color. And we're gonna highlight a few of these trees. This is just too bright for what we're doing over here. Kind of soften that out a little. Maybe a few of these. Maybe we'll get some Indian yellow and bright red. And we can just clean up the edges of our rocks over here. Maybe even some nice bright peachy color. A little bit more bright red. bright red and alizarin crimson. Now we can just take a few of these colors on the fan brush, and we can reflect some into the water, just in a few areas, maybe some greens. Maybe something like that. Then we'll take our blending brush again, very carefully this time. Pull down those reflections, and we're going to go across. Now, we'll pick up our palette knife, some titanium white and some blue, then a touch of liquid white to make a medium texture. This has to be medium texture. Medium. And then you can cut off a little roll of that. I like to load a touch on the top and on the bottom, so I have a roll of paint on one side and just a dab of paint on the other side. And that allows me to get a little bit on the top, plus I can pull out some fun lines out the front of the knife. So double loading is your friend. Give it a try. Today we're going to have some fast moving water. Oh, how fun. A little bit more blue. This way. This is the way. Nice. Just like that. Okay, now let's do a little bit over here. We'll do titanium white and a little bit of blue green, and we're just going to kind of add a little bit of color, just a little bit. We don't want to leave this side out, but it's not in the sun, so we don't need a lot. But we do still need some. You gotta put something, you know? It gets darker as it moves in. Maybe over here, there's a little bit more green in it. It's still dark. Dark, dark, dark. Titanium white, green, and blue. Oh, that's just so nice. Now, clean out that brush a little bit. And we're gonna mix up one more area here, kind of nice in the shadows. So we're gonna use Alizarin Crimson. That's gonna give us a good deep shadow color. We'll just mix that in with whatever these other darks that we have here. Just add your crimson to it, nice and dark like. Hopefully you still have a little bit of blue and green left in it, but if not, whatever, just make something work. A nice brown blue color. And we're just gonna kind of throw in another, almost like a hedge, but it's not. Just some bushes and shrubs that are all by this river's edge here at the base of our kind of, you know, more bushies up here. So we're getting right into the bottom, into the water. There's a lot of animals living over in these, and maybe there's some berries and some flowers. Get our reflection. Nice and dark. Oh, that's nice. Careful over here. Flatten that out. There we go. Now, highlight. We're going to use some titanium white, bright red, and we can go into this lighter mixture and kind of thin it just a touch. All right, now we've mixed up kind of a rich red, green, kind of just a fun color. You know, it's just so much more fun to put color than to have it all be dark and browns and blues. I mean, those are all great colors, don't get me wrong, but oh, I just love color. We've got this nice shadowy red over here now. Maybe these are just some brambles. I don't know, something nice. Let's add just a pop of those colors down below, something to bring it together. And then we reflect all of it, always. There we go. Now, a little bit more of our dark, and we'll just put in some land out here. On the river's edge. A little bit of a shadow color here. Blues, greens, browns, and some white. Pick up a fan brush, a little bit of liquid white, and we'll go into some Indian yellow and bright red, just a touch of crimson, and then we'll pop in a few areas right on top of these rocks. And maybe just a sparkle of sun popping on some of them from above. Who knows? Now, harmony. Don't forget. It's so important. Look at those fun reflections over here. You know what I forgot was a few sticks and twigs over here. We don't have any tree branches or stumps, so I just have to put a few in. Maybe we can scrape in a couple things here and over here. Waterline. This is nice and dark over here, so we don't need a very bright one, but we do need one. A nice gray blue mixture here. Just use your colors that you have on the palette to add harmony into your scene. Now, a little bit more of this rushing water here, all the way to this corner. Something like this. Oh, it's moving. Isn't that cool? Love it. Now, we're going to pretend that we're on a shore over here and there are just some roses just popping up into the scene. I know, crazy, crazy, but we're going to try it. Alizarin Crimson. I need some dark sienna. Alizarin Crimson, Dark Sienna, Bright Red. All three of those. Let's scrape off. Start with kind of a slightly clean space. We'll save that gray, we'll want it later. Okay, so to prep for a nice rose, we need to set the dark and kind of give the rose its center. So we're going to do that first. And while we do that, we'll also be kind of pulling off any extra paint that we don't need. So if you pick up too much light, make sure to go back to your dark and just establish the center. So we're going to have a nice dark bottom here. We need to get that in. Something like this. Maybe we'll grab just a touch of Sap Green that turns our Alizarin Crimson kind of into more of a brown. And we're going to darken that there. Now the problem I have here, and I'm seeing it, is there's just far too much paint on the canvas. So I'm actually going to wipe all of this off, and then we'll start again with our dark. Now that we have an idea of where we want it and what we're doing, we'll just mix up crimson, red, sap green, Van Dyke brown. We got all of our darks. And this will be one rose there. We'll do maybe one here. Oh, we picked up a lot. Let's wipe off. Now our sun is over here, so we do want to have them kind of facing that direction, but they don't exactly need to be perfect, right? So we'll just push in our dark. Be sure to keep the reds in it. And I think we'll need to do a couple more, but maybe let's keep it not too crazy. We'll have some leaves over here. We have some roses. Don't worry, I did plan on this. I knew I was going to be covering up these trees. So you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I really want to, so this is what we're doing. One, two, three, four, five. I like that number. We'll stop there. This one we're gonna have kind of rounded. Maybe we can help ourselves by picking out the exact bottom of our roses here. Maybe this one. Maybe this one's kind of just square on. And All right, we are committed now, huh? Central there. This one's kind of turned in. Okay, now we're going to soften out our bottoms a little bit there. Cool. Now let's grab some green into our nice brown mixture here. And we'll put out a few leaves. They're a little jagged and two-sided. Just focus on putting a few first, and you can just see where that goes. Maybe some more green. And we can just make sure when you're using your sable brush, I'm using a square one right now. It works all right. You can use a round one. The square one works to really direct the petals and the leaves. So I'll leave that up to you. Maybe we'll throw in some a little bit more visible leaf now. Just trying to get a little bit of some base in for our roses here, and then we can always come back in and add more leaves and more details to the leaves, maybe more highlights to the leaves. Right? We can always come back. That one did not have a point at the end. There we go. And maybe here. Now let's put in a few of our kind of these green bits that are at the base of the rose. If your paint isn't sticking, thin it out. can do a couple more leaves here. Nice and dark. Let's get some Phthalo Green with our Sap Green and Phthalo Blue. All of these colors will work really well for shadows and highlights. A little bit more Phthalo Green into it, and it'll kind of darken it. There we go. Maybe just a touch more dark down in these areas. Now, this stroke is kind of just like a half, it's almost like a half moon, if you will, and then you can connect them and turn it into two petals or two different leaves, one, connecting it down the middle if you want to, or just use it for popping in a dark on one side. It's pretty effective. Nothing really special, but you do want to always direct that stroke back to the center of whatever it is that you're working on, right? Now, let's liven this up just a tiny bit. I'm going to get a little bit of liquid white, go into my Sap Green and Indian Yellow. We'll get just a touch of a fun, bright color here, and we'll just double check that we like all of these. We can even give some of these a little bit of a wiggle so they look a little bit more jagged like the rose leaves look. But sometimes you just don't know where all of your petals are going to be at first, and all of your leaves and stuff. So it helps to be able to set yourself up to come back in and add some of these later. You'll be so happy that you did. Okay, with the bright red, let's go into, I need a little bit of midnight black. I would have been using Van Dyke Brown, but since I made that mistake already, we have to keep the harmony going. So we'll just mix a little bit of midnight black. And just kind of fix. Our light source is coming from the right, so we want to have it nice and dark. We had to get some bottoms for these. Kind of shape these in the direction that they're going to be going here. Set myself up for some success. Bright red, midnight black, and a little bit of dark sienna should work. And then just some Alizarin Crimson. Nice and dark color. Now we can use a little bit of that color. Maybe we'll put in a few more leaves here and there. Kind of want to darken this bottom here. Now I'm just procrastinating here because these are, it's challenging to get the stroke right on the rose, but we'll get it here. So let's clean off some of this green. I want to have a fresh space to work in my rose color here. Okay, now we have bright red and titanium white, and we need it to be a medium thickness. So I'm grabbing a bunch of liquid white and then just going to mix this to a medium thickness. Now my red's over on the right, my titanium white is on the left. And so we can work with these colors here, just kind of clean out the brush a little bit. Now I'm going to start with the darker color, more red than the white first. Let's see. We'll start with this is hard. A comma stroke. I was going to do the front first, but now I'm hesitating. Kind of wrap that around. Maybe we can do a little bit on the back. And then I'm directing these strokes down towards the center here. A little bit more paint. Keep loading. We've got our light coming from this side, so we will throw in the front. Right over and soften that a little. Then maybe we'll have one tipped out and just soften it as you bring it back in. Maybe over here. Maybe we Could put some right in the front, right on top, kind of up here. Could put another one. And maybe we just have one more. Right out there. Now we can put a little tiny bit more highlight. Let's get a little bit of Indian yellow and bright red, titanium white, medium thickness, and we'll pop on a little bit of highlight on a couple areas. On this right side. Maybe right here too. Just a touch here. All right, let's move on to this next one. I want a little bit more red. Really load up the brush nicely here. And we'll pick out, this one's going to be kind of maybe tilting up a little bit. Let's do something like this. Maybe we'll do the back. Now we'll do something over here. Soften that a little. Now we'll do some more back petals. Maybe a little bit lighter, just a touch. And some front petals. Just push and bring them back around. Maybe. And then maybe right here. Maybe one more. And then we can even come right over . Wonderful. Let's do some more bright red, titanium white, a touch of Indian yellow maybe. Let's do this one. Maybe this one is a little bit more open. And we'll do the back first. do something in the front. Maybe we'll close it this way. What about that? Maybe it's kind of half open. Just keep reloading. Maybe we'll have this opened and I'm running into my palette cam here. Let's think about this petal. And maybe we have another one. And let's maybe close this. There, this way. Maybe, oh, I'm thinking too much. Gotta be loose. Let's be loose. Here we go. Maybe a couple more up here. Maybe even we will highlight. Get a little bit more liquid white here. And we'll just hit on some of these. There we go. Now let's do this one. I really want this one to be nice and closed. So we're gonna close the petal. Maybe soften that. I'll do some back petals. Maybe a couple like this. And then we can just come right back in front. And let's wipe out a little of that extra paint that we've got going. And we'll do this. A little bit of white with our red. And then we can put on a side petal or two just to bring it together. Maybe over here. Kind of almost translucent. It's nice that way. Right over. We'll do one right here a little bit lighter, we can highlight this. A few more right there in front, I think. Kind of look nice. Now, let's look at this last one here. And I think the center's kind of in this area, so maybe we'll put in a few back areas. And maybe losing a little bit of our color here. Let's bring that back. There we go. Make it nice and thin so that it sticks. A little yellow to that. A little bit more light, and then we'll do just a touch more highlight right here. Now we can tip out a few back here. Maybe just clean up a couple of these. Even add in a couple more petals if you want. It's kind of fun. Now, I want to add in a few more of these little rose bottoms. They'll be here. Just kind of give them a little twist out. Can't really see them, but they'll show up. Just pushing and spinning the brush to get these things little, they're called calyx, actually, maybe, I don't know. Now, with the brush, we're just gonna load it up with some green, and we're gonna do just a few more leaves kind of right out in front. We can mix up one color, and we'll just use this until we kind of run out of paint. So let's do, we'll throw in a couple over the top, and we can paint our leaves. Just kind of do this nice big leaves right on top. Be up on this one, we need it to be lighter. Maybe a few in between here. We can just pull some back out in front. Maybe we'll get just a nice light green color, nice bright yellow green, and we'll come in and highlight some of these. Maybe put some like new ones in that are just bright green. We just want to add some pop to this and really make it feel like it's a big rose bush as opposed to just these big obvious roses that we put in, you know, make it feel like it really just happened here. So we'll just kind of add in a few fun bits here. A nice light thin green color. And you can do small leaves. We could do something that's just popping in here, a few. Maybe there's some over here too. Maybe just, I don't want to cover them all up, but they're so fun to just put these little sprigs in here and there and there and here, and just make those roses almost, they like pop out because we put all this nice dark greens in here. Rich contrast. Now, you know what would be just so cool in this, I think, will be a few little sprigs of some grasses. Take my script liner, wherever that went, that is hiding. Here we go. And it's filthy. Clean that off. Okay, now I'm going to use some liquid white and just go into a little bit of some greens here. And we'll just, maybe there's just some other grass that's out here. And there's just a few tails maybe back here. All right, I think I'm gonna sign this and I am done. I love it. I'm so happy with these roses. They look great. They're simple. It took me 2 tries, but you know what? It's okay. You just wipe it off and you try again. And here we are with another finished painting. Do my signature. You can sign your paintings however you want. It is completely up to you. You are in charge. Now, let's get rid of this. I think this needs a bird. Let's just sneak in a little bird. I haven't painted too many birds lately. Love it. You can't even tell, but I can. That's all that matters. All right, I am all done with this week's episode of Tutorial Tuesday. Thank you all so much for joining me for this wonderful mountain rose scene. It's almost like it's 2 paintings in one, where we do this wonderful mountain scene and then throw in like a floral scene at the end. It's so much fun. I really, really enjoy it. And if it's hard, you just wipe it off and do it again. So it's not even that big of a deal. So I hope you give this painting a try. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this painting. And if you do give it a try, send me an email, Kaylee@KayleeRakowski.com. Also, I'd really like to thank those of you who were in the live Q&A last week. It was really cool. I was super nervous. I had just been really, really busy working on this community project. It's a mural in my local park, and I see it almost every day when I walk to the park with my old dog. So it's a real treat to be able to put this project together and design that mural. And for those of you who came out and asked me some fun questions for this kind of variety of Tutorial Tuesday last week, I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being there for me and to support me while I'm doing something new and uncomfortable and challenging and all of that. So it was a really, really great experience for me to share that with you, and I just really appreciate all of you for welcoming that and being there for me. So until next week, my name is Kaylee. I paint wet on wet landscape oil paintings, and you were just here for Tutorial Tuesday, episode number 60, Mountain Roses. We'll see you next week for our live premiere that happens every week, 5 o'clock. Something fun happens on Tuesday on my channel. Smile and be happy, friends.